Hey y'all, it's Nash. Today is November 2nd, 2014, and I am 9 months on T, a little over 9 months. I haven't updated for a whole month. I usually do every other week, but 2 weeks ago, or three I think at this point, I just wasn't really feeling like I had that many updates to talk about, and I've just been pretty low on time, been pretty busy. But I wanted to make sure I made this one just because 9 months is something to talk about. I am entering my fourth quarter of the year, and I think that that's pretty significant. I think I've mentioned in past videos that I felt like in the 9 to 12 month range, people really kind of come into their own in a way that I really appreciate and have been looking forward to. Kind of like scalpel and not an axe changes, if that makes sense. Like those little intricate kind of adjustments that I think are going to be something that really feels good to me. Some physical changes that I've been experiencing. One would be acne, and I think a lot of what I'm experiencing is kind of the introduction of hair. That is, I have a ton of acne going on my chin line, kind of where a potential future beard might fall. And so very little peach fuzz is growing there. I only have a couple hairs that are kind of coarse and dark. But I'm hoping that I'm paying my dues for some facial hair that I do hope to someday be able to rock. I'm hoping to eventually have something that, I don't know, that's full and makes me feel good about myself. I've always felt like maybe that would help me feel more confident, that I would look pretty stellar with some facial hair, but we'll see. So yeah, acne. I mean, something that's come up recently, not only because I'm part of a group that it was a topic that we were talking about, but also because of Halloween. So it was just Halloween 2 days ago, and I dressed up like a vampire, and that is something that I used to love to dress up as when I was a kid. And I actually have a picture of me dressed up like a vampire as a kid, and I tried to kind of recreate it. I was inspired by my childhood photo. That was cool, and I don't know, it just brought back a lot of memories of my childhood and like my boyhood, that I'm finally kind of coming into who I was meant to be back then. That I took quite a bit of a detour, that I had a boyhood, and then when I started puberty, that like really detoured pretty significantly, and that well, I would say that I started to tap back into it in as early as 8th and ninth grade, when I started expressing my gender more authentically. I stopped forcing femininity as much around that age. With the help of testosterone, I feel like I'm finally growing into the person that little kid envisioned becoming and would have wanted to become. Or not, I knew that was possible, which I don't think I did. That it would be possible to become the person I'm becoming, the adult that I'm becoming. I think that it makes a lot of sense that that kid, if they did know that was possible, that this is something that would be really exciting for them, like what I'm going through now, and how I'm looking and how I'm feeling in my body, and who I'm becoming. So dressing up in this costume that I had dressed up in as a kid helped me feel connected to that person in this way that I really appreciate, and it's kind of a full circle, right? Like kind of coming full circle. And there's been other moments where I've like really recognized that that kid knew themselves so well, and that I was living so authentically and without kind of the physical restraints that I then experienced after puberty. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I think a lot of tomboys experience a new kind of pressure when they go through puberty, and they become, all of a sudden, there's like a threat of queerness, when before it was just like, a little girl expressing masculinity is often praised, right, as like independent and strong, and these characteristics that as a society we really appreciate in people. sometimes I think I feel, um, and I might talk about like invisibility sometimes. Sometimes I feel like taking testosterone, while it makes parts of me more visible, it also invisibilizes other parts of me, and that can be tumultuous. That can be kind of frightening. And I just try to remember and keep inside that you're always going to get misperceived by other people, and that I can't live my life dependent on how other people are reading me. In that I know my complexity, I know my history, and that's really important to me. And now I know a lot of trans people would prefer if their history was invisibilized, and appreciate that about physically transitioning. But for me, that is uncomfortable, and so that's something that I have to deal with. And I feel very fortunate in being in a city where folks are, where trans folks are very visible, and so I feel like that allows my gender expression and identity and experience to be visible more often than I say if I was somewhere where folks were less used to seeing trans folks, or were expecting less often that they would run into trans people, right? And I think it's specific to my experience. I know a lot of people who are really uncomfortable about living in Portland and being read as trans and being seen as a trans person. And they're like, wait, like I didn't tell that person, how do they know I'm trans, right? And it's this literacy that people have, being able to perceive somebody's gender expression as perceiving somebody to have a trans body, when that might not be something they want to be visible. For me, that is something that I like, being visible in that way. So invisibility is interesting. I feel like with testosterone, I've become visible in ways to communities that kind of thought I was just one of the gals, one of the girls, kind of a cisgender heterosexual community, particularly older folks who weren't able to see my expression, weren't able to see my identity in my expression, and didn't understand certain things. I feel like all of a sudden I'm visible to this community, to those folks, in a new way that I really appreciate, and that's really exciting to me. That makes me feel just really validated. But at the same time, I feel like maybe there's new assumptions that are coming up for them that make me feel invisible, or that my history is invisible. And that's, being read as somebody with a boyhood that wasn't queer like mine was. A boyhood that didn't need to be fought for. And I did fight for my boyhood, and I struggled through having this body, and through the pressures that exist for young female assigned people in this world. And I found myself, and that's an important part of who I found, and who I became, and who I'm still becoming. Again, I'll reiterate that I'm working really hard to not put so much value on what other people see and what other people assume. And I think that's going to be a lifetime process, but I'm working on it. And this process of physically changing my body, and my expression, my gender expression, and the way that I access space, with strangers, is making that process come to the forefront in a really big way, and it's challenging me in a really big way to find comfort in that. Find comfort in assumptions being made about my history, or my body, or my gendered experience, my privileges, and so that's interesting. Let's see, what else? Dysphoria that has changed quite a bit in recent months. I have had chest surgery, and you know, taking that dysphoria away has been incredibly relieving and confidence producing, and just really empowering and great. I love my chest. It's been life changing to have access surgery. However, since surgery, and I think where I'm at in my hormone therapy, I've had a new kind of, the dysphoria that I've always had has been exacerbated in some ways, particularly around my hips and thighs and kind of love handles, my curves, my feminine curves. That's been really hard. I was processing this earlier in the week, maybe last week, about kind of what's going on, and it's interesting. I think that some of it has to do with being read as male pretty consistently out in the world. Like, I felt like I was doing really well with what I was given, that I was doing as best as I possibly could given my physical limitations. But now that I have my limitations have been extended, right? Like, now I have these new abilities to express my gender in a masculine way and in like a trans male body, that I feel like now the same qualities that I had before, right? Like, my hips have not changed much on T. They're just like a stark, like, sore spot, you know, and just like, whoa, but like, that's so bad in contrast to the rest of like my like more masculine body. It makes my hips look worse. It's just killing me. It's terrible. And you know, I gotta put the effort in with exercise. I have to be really diligent about this, about the way I eat, about moving my body, and I hope that I'll be able to make some differences. And I also know that fat distribution around this area happens more rapidly in the second year, and a lot of people say post Hysto that they're kind of like hip fat, or like the fat around their pelvis redistributes quite a bit more, and that kind of makes sense. So your body's kind of protecting your uterus. I do look towards the future and getting a hysterectomy. I know that that's in the cards for me, and so maybe that would help. I know some other folks get like liposuction down there, but I know I would want to work as hard as I could to do what I can physically through exercise and diet before going in for another surgery, you know, like that. So, yeah, that's tough. It's tough. I feel so much better about some parts of my body, and it's hard that this process that I thought would no doubt make me feel worlds better about everything in my body is actually making me feel even worse about some of my insecurities. But at the same time, I'm hopeful, because without T, there would be no potential to have that fat redistribute. And now that I'm on T, like, that is a possibility. Like, it is possible, and you know, it doesn't happen for everyone. It is possible that there's a chance that I could be more comfortable with my body in that region, and that would be amazing. That would be a dream come true. Maybe even more so than chest surgery. So I have hope, and that's invaluable. I mean, that's so important. So, thank you to Testosterone for giving me some hope around that. It's huge. So, all right. I think those are my updates. My voice has stayed consistent. I think this is where I'm at. I think this is gonna be my voice, and I'm happy with it. And besides that, I don't think a lot of physical changes are happening. That's kind of it. Acne, a little more hair here and there. But yeah, all right, 9 months on T. It's the beginning of November. All right, signing off for now. Bye.